Are you looking for one of the easiest ways to make your home smarter and one of the simplest ways? That's right, a smart light bulb. Hello, I am Wanderer001 and this is my review of the Wyze Color Bulb. Yes, the same company that brings you outdoor cameras, indoor cameras, and everything in between, at one point also did bring us a smart light bulb review there in the corner. But that was a simplistic light bulb that only did one color temperature, cool or hot, and had some limitations. This is their new color light bulb. And if you're looking for the old one, sadly, the color light bulb replaces that, so you only get color light bulbs now. Is that a problem? Not necessarily, but we'll get into that a little later. The Wyze Color Light Bulb comes in either a 4-pack or a 2-pack, so no single light bulbs at all with Wyze. You have to get them in multiples. That's not terrible, but just a point of note. The light bulb itself has a color temperature range of 1800 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin, which is actually on the lower end, meaning it can get lower or dimmer than the predecessor of the plain white light bulb that they used to have. With the color effects, Wyze says you get about 16 million. Well, you're gonna have a color wheel that you'll see a little later that makes it so you could pick pretty much just any color on the rainbow that you would like. Now, what differentiates this from the old Wyze LED light bulb? Well, as it happens, I have the old version right here, and as you can see, the main difference is color. That's really it. This bulb compared to the other one is exactly the same in that it has the standard E26 US socket, so that's going to fit into most of your light fixtures in the US without any problems. The color light bulb itself has a 75 watt equivalent, meaning at its brightest settings it will equal that of a 75 watt incandescent if this is your first LED rodeo and you need those types of numbers. If you're already familiar with LED lights, you're looking at anywhere between 30 to 1100 lumens. That's going to let you know just how bright this particular LED is. The base of the Wyze LED bulb here is where the heatsink is located, and if left on for a length of time, will get kind of warm just like any other LED bulbs. The LEDs themselves are actually top firing, meaning they aim right up at the bulb. The dome is plastic. It's not rubberized, but it's also not going to break on you. As you can see, it also does a good job of diffusing the LEDs as they're shined up into this, so you really can't tell the difference between this and a regular incandescent bulb. There are some LEDs out there where you look at it and it's like, I can kind of see that's an LED. This one, don't have that problem. Now, because I'm that type of person and I need to know just how much power something uses, even if it's a low power device like an LED light bulb, well, because this connects to your Wi-Fi, because it is a smart home device, when idling, the Wyze Color LED bulb uses 0.08 watts of power, not terrible, and at its brightest setting, depending on color temperature, your power usage can change. This is all on maximum brightness. And trying to do that around the camera, it's not helpful. All right, there you go. So you can see, again, depending on colors, you get differing usages. So here I'm bringing it to the white temperature, white color. And if we go into temperature, that's daylight. We'll swing it around to white. They're going to say soft white, soft white, white, cool white. So it looks like you're going to range anywhere from like 5.5 watts to about 11.56 watts. Not terrible at all. So with the general specifications out of the way, I mentioned it's a smart bulb. It sits on your Wi-Fi. How easy is it to connect and set up the Wyze Color Bulb? Well, let's take a look at that now. This will be setup of the Wyze Color Light Bulb. First, we're going to come over and we're going to open our app and we are going to select plus sign in the corner and we are going to say add a device. So here you can see they've kind of streamlined this a little bit, making it simpler to find particular items. In our case, we're going to say power and lighting, and there we go. Wyze Color Light Bulb. So right now it's saying screw in the light bulb and that it should begin pulsing immediately. This means you are in pairing mode. If the light is not pulsing, then you have to turn it on and off 3 times, which is the way that they used to do it, where you had to cycle the power right away 3 times. And I'm trying to do this around the camera. Apologize. All right, hang on one second. Let me just make this easier. As you can tell, I am not a lefty. because that would have been much easier. All right, so my light bulb is not currently powered, so what we're going to do is we're going to flip this switch here to power it. Ooh, and look at that. Well, it might not come out on camera very well. It is actually pulsating green like the app is indicating. So you can kind of tell on that back wall there that it's green. So we're going to say next. Yes, it is pulsating. And it wants me to pick my Wi-Fi network. So I'm just going to swap this over to my IoT network, and I do have the password already in there because, well, this is not my first rodeo with Wyze. We're going to hit next. There, it found one address. We're going to hit next one more time. And then it's connect. Ooh, look at that. It changed blue. Name your light bulb. Wow, that color bulb. And you can even pick an icon if you want. And then you may be able to see there, well, it popped up. It showed up as a Alex A device. So there we go. A little hard to see with the bulb behind it, but your Wyze bulb color is connected with Alex A already. So if we wanted to, we could pick a icon to represent what this is. We're gonna pick this one here and select done. And then we're just going to leave it at color bulb 1. We'll finish the naming process later for when I place them where they actually should be. And finish. And early backer sticker right there. So there we go. Wow, they really streamlined that process. 3 minutes in total with a little reading. If you're not filming yourself, you probably be able to do it even shorter. So there you go, it's right at the top. It's showing you that it's the color. Obviously there will be a firmware upgrade, so let's hit upgrade. And that was setup of the Wyze Color Bulb. Being that this is a smart home device, it is compatible with the major voice assistants out there. Google, Alexa, and even if this then that. The one issue that I've noticed with the Alexa integration is there is a bit of a lag when giving a command even to a single bulb.
Alexa, turn off bedroom light. Alexa, turn on bedroom light.
Now I don't know if that's on the Wyze side or if it's on the Alexa side, but it has been an issue since the original Wyze bulb. One thing that you can do, aside from adjusting, turning a bulb on and off with one of the voice assistants, you can also dim the bulb because these are dimmable via either the application or the voice commands. You do that by percentages. However, you cannot change the color currently with any of the voice assistants. I do wish that I could go in and preset change blah 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 to red or green. I'm not talking about like auburn, sky blue or whatever. I want, specifics. It would be nice, but I don't know if that's entirely possible. Food for thought. Not a ding against Wyze or their integration into the voice assistants. The fact that they do is good, but there are many more things that you can do via the application for the Wyze Color Bulb. So let's actually take a look at the app for the Wyze Bulb. This is the Wyze application for the Wyze Color Bulbs. I have number 4 and number 3 here at the top and a grouping that I've made down here. And if I toggle them, you can see they're slightly off camera. In fact, here, if we move that a little closer, you'll actually see some of the things that I'm talking about while I'm toggling it on and off, only because I have my spotlights on. So as you saw right from the home screen, you can click it on and off and it will change to an on or off position. And remember the last color that you had it set for. Opening up the Wyze bulb itself, you'll notice this screen looks a little familiar. In fact, if you have a regular Wyze bulb review over there in the corner, you're familiar with this screen, which is the color temperature setting. Well, they've redesigned this since I did my review of the original Wyze bulbs. Here on this screen, you have an on-off button, which I will select, and you can see the light is on. I left it as green just to make it easier to see, but now we have a sliding toggle right here. Ooh, I changed the color. There is a sliding toggle here, which allows you to adjust the brightness of the bulb from this screen. And then just like with the original bulb, you can select what kind of color temperature you would like. Right now I'm on cool white. I can bring it up to warm, daylight. You get the idea. This part is the same as the old bulbs, the color portion. So let's bring us over to the color. Here you have a dynamic color wheel that will allow us to select colors, and you can see just how quickly that color in the upper right hand corner there is changing based on where I'm placing that color wheel. On this page 2, we have a bar that we can drag to lower and raise the brightness of that particular bulb. Scrolling down, we have individual scenes. Each scene is dependent on the number of bulbs that you have. In this particular one, you've got color temperature scenes, nightlight, cozy, bright, energized. And you'll notice there's a little singular dot in the corner indicating 1, because these bulbs are not grouped together. They're just acting as a single bulb. With the color, you also have energize, gaming, movie, and meditation. So selecting these changes the color of the bulb depending on whatever scene you have selected, and obviously it would override the color that you have. Now, I mentioned that it's based on groupings or single bulbs. Notice this one has a singular dot. But if I come over here to my bedroom group, I actually created a Christmas grouping, and you can see 2 distinct dots there, green and red. That's because one bulb I have set to green, the other I have set to red, and it spans between the 2. Likewise, coming down to the energizing, it's a little easier to see in like the purple range. You have 2 dots and then it washes between the 2. So you get an effect kind of like this if I turn on the Christmas one, seeing it between the 2. The more bulbs that you have as part of a group, the more dots that you'll see across, and the more transition you'll see amongst all of the bulbs, which is kind of interesting. Coming back to our Wyze bulb, we talked about changing the color, we talked about the temperature, turning on and off brightness, and then down with our scenes. The scenes, just like the original bulbs, I have a little qualm with, and that is if I try and set a scene up. Notice there's nothing here that says I'm setting a scene. I have to change the color, change the brightness. So if we come up here, change the brightness to 44%, I then have to come to scene and select save, which will allow me to edit an existing scene or save this as a new scene. I really wish that there was a plus sign or something here for adding a scene to make that more easy to discern. And we're going to come back up here and put it back to green, and we're going to drop that up to 100%, and we're going to talk about this up here, which is the overall settings for the individual Wyze bulbs. Selecting this will allow us to come into the settings. You can see here we have our device name. I just cheated and left it at Wyze bulb. You can edit that as you like. You also have the option for device icons. Here you have many choices that you can pick from depending on where this is and what it's doing. I'm going to select back and move down to schedules and automations. If you're familiar with any of the other Wyze products, here you'll be able to schedule automation. So turn on at this time, turn off at this time. If this action with the Wyze Cam happens, then this turns on and does something. That is where you get all of that stuff from, schedule and automation. Sleep routines, set up. You can have a wake up and a bedtime, and selecting, hypothetically we'll do a bedtime, you do a duration, you do a time start, and then you can select days that you wish it to occur. What this will do is simulate the sunset to help you fall asleep faster. So if you're one of those people like me who stays up much later than you should be, this will allow you to dim the lights without you having to think about it, to force you to kind of go to bed at a regular time. Next we have timers, which at current date of filming, my bulbs are supposed to be up to date, but that is not allowing me to access it. So no timer. It worked before. It does not work now, whether or not you want it to turn itself off in 30 minutes or turn itself on in 30 minutes. Vacation mode, well, turning this on will mimic actual activity with the bulb. So it will turn itself on and off randomly to mimic somebody actually being in the home. Sun match, turning this on, worked again originally, but apparently after the firmware upgrade does not. It would match the color temperature of bulbs to the daylight outside, sunset, sunrise. Scenes, if we had any scenes created, and for this particular bulb I don't, you would see a listing of them here. Power loss recovery. This is one of the things that I think separates Wyze bulbs from a lot of the other smart bulbs out there, and that is power loss recovery. Well, guess what? You can tell it what the bulb does when power is lost and then return. So if you're like me and you lose power at 5 p.m. and the power is restored at 3 a.m. and don't want your Wyze bulb to turn on at 3 a.m., you can select that here. So in my case, I have it on because, again, this is test bulb, that the power will restore itself to the on state. I can select maintain previous state, which is if the bulb is off, it will return to being off. If the bulb is on, it will return to being on. Beneficial. Happy they have that. Backing up, share this device. You can share this device just like you can share all other Wyze products with somebody else who has a Wyze account. Device info. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is to show the current firmware version that is causing me trouble. But this is where you find out all the device info of your particular Wyze bulb. And then you have Wyze support, which is built in for the Wyze bulb right into the application itself. I really like that they're doing this to keep everything in one place. And then here we can say check for firmware. As you can see, everything's good and those are kind of broken. So depending on how quickly I get this out, perhaps Wyze will have fixed that. If not, Wyze, see that firmware? Fix it. And then down here you can delete the device. One thing to notice is this icon up here. As we change it, it dynamically changes to the actual color of the bulb. So you will always know what the bulb color is right here. And if I turn that off, it will go back to gray. This will be how to create a group for your Wyze color bulbs. Now, I do have a group set up right here, bedroom light. However, I have the other two that are not in a group. The one issue that I have with the color bulbs versus the old regular bulbs that you can't get anymore is that you cannot create a group with the bulbs, with the color bulbs, and the old classic bulbs. But there's nothing we can do about that. So we are going to come up to the plus sign and we are going to say add device group. We can come down to pick our individual bulbs. Here you can see color grouping or classic grouping. If I were to come up here and tap on this, I only see a listing of my classics, not the color bulbs, and only those that are not already part of a group. Now I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to select my two color bulbs that are not part of a grouping here. So click, click, and then we give it a name, which is test group, and then select done. What that does is now that links those two together. Notice test group takes the place of the two individual bulbs, and I have the bulbs situated just off camera, so if I turn that on, you can see green and red. And if I turn them off, should you want to turn off a group, you simply select the group, but we come up here, lighting in this group, we click on this, select edit, and then we can select a red mark, which would remove one of the bulbs from the grouping. Coming back, if we select an individual bulb, you see the device information, and we're just gonna come back, go into the grouping one more time, remove one of the bulbs. Notice they have these double arrows over here, so you can actually drag those into any order that you want. We're gonna select done, and then come back to the main page, where you see test group still exists, but we now have individual control over my red bulb. Selecting the test group will only turn on the green bulb right now because there's no other items in that group. If we wanted to remove even the singular bulb in here, we simply come into edit, remove, and then yes, done. And now there are no bulbs associated with the test group. So notice we still have test grouping, but the bulbs are no longer part of it. If we wanted to get rid of test group, we come up here, edit devices, here's our test group, selecting the red icon, yes, delete, and done. That grouping no longer exists, and we're back to our individual bulbs. So that has been a look at the Wyze color bulb and what you can do with the application for it. I will admit it is much more simplified than I thought it would be for the color bulbs, and I do like the scenes that you can make them, but I wish they were a little easier to create without having to select something and then say save. I want that plus sign, Wyze. But that has been the longer than I thought look at the Wyze application for the Wyze color bulb. So there you saw the application, and one of the biggest gripes that I have for the Wyze color bulb and the original Wyze bulb is that they don't talk to each other. You can't group them together. And I feel as a legacy device that is still being supported by Wyze, I can understand why you can't do it for certain things. But if I just want to have it in a warm or cool setting, I feel that the two bulbs should be able to be grouped together so that the Wyze bulbs of the past do not become obsolete, because these things last forever. I still have these working just fine, but would have to upgrade if I want to have more of them grouped together in a single location. So Wyze, if you can come up with a workaround for that, that would be much appreciated. One of the things that is a little hard to see when talking about through the application or even in my little off-screen demo there is color response, shutdown time, turn on time, what it looks like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a single bulb just kind of hanging out. I'll turn it on, I'll turn it off, I'll cycle through a couple of colors. Hopefully my camera will do it justice and you'll get an idea of what you can expect from the Wyze Color Bulb. And there you can see that's kind of a magenta-y, and I'm just gonna work my way around the color wheel, showing you what it's possible of doing. And we're just going to keep going. I hope my camera does it somewhat of justice, but do keep in mind there are lots of possibilities because I just went around the exterior of the color wheel. You can even bring it in on the same color and get different hues and tones that way. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring it over to temperature, and again I'm just going to work around the wheel. I'm going to start it over in soft white just so we don't blind ourselves, and we're just going to spin the wheel, still in soft white. Now we're in white. Now it's daylight. Cool white. Still cool white. Coming back to daylight. Coming back to white. Up to the top. And in the warm, we're just going to drag it down and drag it back up. So there's definitely like an orange tinge to that bulb, which might be difficult to see on camera. So I'm going to move it over to white, and then I'm going to drag the dimming, which while you have to do specific numbers on Alexa or Google, you could just drag this to any number of choices. So you don't have to do percent, so you can do anything in between. There we go. And now I will turn off the bulb, so we'll see if it picks up that color hue I was talking about. And on, and off, on, and off, and on a color, so we'll see if it does it there, and off, and on, and off. So that's just an example of what you can expect color-wise from the Wyze Color Bulb. Again, camera probably doesn't do any justice. I'm not going to do any editing in post, just so you can see. Hopefully one of the more interesting points of the turning off of the Wyze Color Bulb is at the very end you can kind of see a flickering of all the colors that the bulb can do, because it is an RGB bulb, so it mixes colors to get the colors that you're telling it to do. It's noticeable if you're paying attention, but if you don't, you'll be good. My wife hasn't noticed it. I'm not going to tell her because that would be bad. One of the benefits and detriments of the Wyze Color Bulb itself is that it is a hubless smart home device. What does that mean? That means that this bulb connects directly to your Wi-Fi. It does not need a hub to connect to, and then the hub connects to your Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi router. The only downfall for that is if you have a large selection of Wyze products or Wyze Color Bulbs, then your network can become congested, meaning there's a lot of things on there and not all Wi-Fi routers can handle that kind of throughput. I have not had any problems with my particular setup, but then again, over in the corner there, I've had two different Wi-Fi routers, both Asus, the first one being what would just be considered a regular Wi-Fi router. The other one is a little beefier. It's a gaming Wi-Fi router. However, on both of them, I haven't had any problems with all of my smart home devices because the list just keeps getting bigger and bigger. However, another thing to consider, because this does connect directly to Wi-Fi, is that it operates on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum because that is longer range, not faster speeds. And something like this doesn't need to be fast, it just needs to have longer range. And so far in my testing, I have not been able to put this anywhere inside my house that it would not turn on or off. You might be saying to yourself, well, all of that sounds great. I like what I've seen so far, or I have other Wyze products already. Add this to my smart home. How much will this set me back? Well, if you remember, I did say this came in either a 4-pack or a 2-pack. If you purchase the 4-pack, you're looking at $40, and if you purchase the 2-pack, you're looking at $21 depending on where you pick this up. In my opinion, that's not terrible for all of the things that you get with the Wyze Color Smart Bulb here. I do again wish that it had that backwards compatibility, but for that price, you're undercutting TP-Link, Philips Hue, and a lot of others. So if you're already in the Wyze ecosystem or you're looking to just start smartening up your home, you cannot go wrong with looking at the Wyze Color Smart LED Light Bulb. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.